Okay, so the question is, an email write-in question is, I guess, how would I respond to the claim by evolutionists that we can see evolution if we look at embryology? So that is, if we look at the human development in utero, that some of what we see there is stages that are carryovers from our evolutionary ancestry. I think that's the question. This idea, there's actually some big words that go along with this claim that were coined pretty much right after Darwin published his theory of evolution. There was an embryologist of that same generation who made the claim, which came to be kind of an idiomatic banner of evolution, and the claim is ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. And that's saying what I just said, that the looking at the embryology, the development of a human fetus, we can trace ancestry, evolutionary ancestry in the stages that it goes through. This idea has been refuted for almost a whole century now. And there would be no embryologists today, people who actually study this phenomenon of fetal development, there'd be no embryologists today who would give any credence to this idea. But the fact remains that it's such if it were true, it would be such a powerful reason to believe hook, line, and sinker the whole evolutionary story that evolutionists continued to promulgate it. Whether just out of the ends justify the means kind of philosophy, I really do think evolution is true, and so even if I use untruth to get people to believe with me such a thing, that's okay. You understand that? Or out of ignorance, they've heard that this is a set of evidence that's been used to support evolution, and so they're going to use it too, even though they've never studied embryology themselves or realize through the study of the history of science or the history of embryology that no embryologist believes that today. But that's the case. So at the time that Darwin proposed his theory, he knew that the fossil record was powerfully contradictory to what he was claiming. But he expected that because paleontology was a young discipline, that in coming years, paleontologists would uncover a whole lot of transitional forms that bridge the gaps between bats and rodents and between birds and reptiles. So the fossil record was all against his theory. The most powerful evidence that he brought into play to support his theory was just this idea that somehow, if we look at the development of different organisms, we'd find their ancestry there. Immediately, there was an embryologist of his day who, liking his theory, produced a whole set of drawings, diagrams, of the embryos of a chicken and a turtle and a bat and all these other organisms, and claimed that they looked exactly alike early in their fetal development. And this became one of the most ballyhooed proofs of evolution and remained in textbooks right up to our day, even though the other embryologists of that day recognized it as fraudulent, called it fraudulent, and refuted it at the time. Again, Stephen Jay Gould, who passed away about 6 years ago, but who was one of the popularizers popularizers of evolution in our generation. He wrote an article every month in Nature magazine defending evolution. He admitted when this problem of fraudulent evidence was, when he was faced with this, he admitted that he knew for about 30 years that it was fraudulent evidence and yet continued to teach it to his university students. Again, because he believes the end justifies the means. So at best, this idea that we recapitulate our ancestry in our fetal development was a humorous and interesting and very short-lived historical artifact. But at worst, it's intentional, deceptive propaganda that goes on today, even though it's been known to be false for nearly 100 years now.